Good afternoon and welcome to Mike and the Hoss on Wolfeboro Community Television. I'm Mike Danais.
And I'm Charlie Hossack.
All right, so as people could see at home,
that was it. That's all I got. And so
we're not at studio.
No, we're not. I'm in quarantine. You're in quarantine. We're not quarantined together.
We are not quarantined together, and
we are quarantined.
Neither one of our quarantines have to do with each other. So I think that's important that we put out there. I'm coming off my 10-day state quarantine. I'm coming off this weekend, and you're just getting started there, big boy.
I am officially on day 1 of quarantine, so I will be quarantined through the Christmas season. Hopefully, I'll be breaking free right before Christmas. But it's going to put a real challenge on Christmas shopping, because typically I'm a last-minute Christmas shopper, and now I have to become an online Christmas shopper. So.
Listen. Jeff Bezos is rich because of me and Amazon. Online is just it's an absolutely wonderful thing. So
good.
That's I do feel cooped up, and for anybody who has quarantined, which at this point quite a few people have quarantined over time, it can be challenging. It can be challenging. You know, it's I'm going to be going out for a ride later, and it's like a special event, even though I'm staying in the car.
It's crazy how much we take for granted. Like, you're looking forward to a car ride, and you're right. I mean, I feel the same way. Even this morning, I just drove around the block, and that felt good, just to get some fresh air. I can't get out of my car. I can't interact with people. So you're right. It's just it's the little things that we really need to count our blessings. And I know that quarantine isn't great, and I know that when we were in lockdown last year, I found many things to do. My home was never cleaner, but I don't know if I have that motivation right now.
So we are back at home. Hopefully in a couple of weeks this thing will get cleared up. But again, it's if you listen to the doctors and you listen to everybody, this is getting worse before it gets better.
Right.
So
I mean, since we're on the topic of COVID, and what is, I just want to share my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours. I know it's not necessarily sports related, but it's what we're experiencing now. You know, if you look at the news and watch the news, which I try, Mike, I try not to, just because it's pretty much everything's negative, or there aren't a lot of positives in the news anymore. But one of the things is, I was getting optimistic about the vaccines, and you hear about the different companies, and I'm like starting to feel good, like, wow, maybe life can get back to normal in 6 months or whatever it's going to be. And then you hear the other side where, like, oh, if you take the vaccine, this, and you hear all these negative stories about that, and then your head gets all ugh. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, I saw a good analogy the other day. It says, do you look at the ingredients when you eat a Pop-Tart? No. So why are you so hung up on the ingredients on this thing? Yeah. And the stuff that's inside of a Pop-Tart or a hot dog are probably a lot worse than the stuff that's inside this COVID vaccine.
I agree. I wish you had said hot dog, but I love hot dog.
Yeah. So, that kind of put it in perspective for me. I do take my vaccines. I get the flu shot. I get all the, everything that the doctor tells me I should do, I do. And my family's going to do the vaccine. Now, if people start growing third arms and and ears out of this thing, then I might rethink that. But
right.
At this point, I'm planning on taking the vaccine. What's disappointing to me is the misinformation, the inconsistent information coming out about when we're going to be able to take the vaccine.
Right.
And you and I are considered, I believe, we're 1B. We're teachers and semi-essential workers, depending on who you ask.
Right.
So we're supposed to be early, but we've heard anywhere from late January to early May for us.
Right.
And that the general public won't be until June or July. That seriously bums me out, because I'm really looking forward to a spring and a summer.
I agree.
And COVID fatigue is such a huge thing. And I think one of the reasons why we're seeing such a spike right now, I mean, obviously the weather's changed, but COVID fatigue is real. And people aren't wearing their masks like they were before, and they're not social distancing like they were before. And we're seeing that kind of snowball. And what happened at Thanksgiving, we're just starting to see the stuff from Thanksgiving.
Yep, and Christmas is right around the corner. And the other thing, you made a good point. We're kind of entering a season like I get excited during December and Thanksgiving. First you have Thanksgiving in November, and the December for me is Christmas, and then it's exciting time, and then New Year's. But then I go into like the dark days. Like I'm not much of a winter guy. When I was younger, I was a winter guy, but it's just I meet fewer and fewer people that are really in love with the winter. And you're right. So with the COVID fatigue, and then like the seasons changing to lesser daylight and all that, it's going to be a tough go for the next couple of months. Well,
it's a good segue because our next segment is Kingswood Sports, and this week, I'm sure everybody in the audience knows that the school board voted by a vote of 7-1 to cancel the winter sports season at Kingswood. And I mean, obviously, just like anything else in 2020, there's people that feel strongly on both sides of this.
Right.
And if you read Facebook posts or any kind of community forum, there are definitely people on both sides. My take on it, and again, we work for the district, so sometimes we got to be careful with what we say. I'm just disappointed. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm disappointed. I have a son in high school who is just an avid hockey player and an avid athlete. And, he missed his baseball season last year, as did your son.
Right.
Your daughter plays hockey.
Yep.
And it is, high school for many kids, high school is the peak of their athletic careers.
Right.
And you have 4 short years, and they are short years. And so now, taking away one of these years, or losing one of these years, probably be a better way to say it, is hard. It's hard and there's a lot of research out there, and this is not questioning anybody's decision, but there's a lot of research out there and concern for the well-being and the health of the student athletes when you take away the athletic piece of it. Because in a lot of ways it serves as their motivation, their identity, and so on. And then getting back to what you were saying, Charlie, in the winter months, when it happened last spring, the good thing about was last spring when we shut things down is that the weather was warm. It was an early spring,
right.
And so kids were able to get outside early, and you were able to do outside activities, whether golf and hiking and boating and swimming and whatever. You're not going to have that luxury this winter.
No, you're not.
And there's some concern.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Just when baseball for our boys was shut down in the spring, they could still go out and long toss, and I could still go out in my backyard and throw the baseball around. Where I don't have that luxury with my daughter, who's a senior, playing hockey. I mean, I don't have a big rink in my backyard type of thing and go out and play hockey. And plus, she couldn't be with other people anyway. So it's I think you summed it up perfectly. I'm disappointed. I'm always a believer that I will support the decisions that the school board makes. And as an employee of the district, that's what I'll do. But I'm still entitled to be disappointed, and that's how I feel. And I think a lot of the disappointment isn't as Charlie the teacher. It's more of the dad in me, just like, hey, I got 4 years of playing sports. You got 4 years of playing sports, and now my kids are getting fewer.
100% of my, I have to say, I was coaching in the hockey team too, so I have a little bit of disappointment with that.
Yeah.
But my disappointment is the massive majority of it comes as a dad.
Yeah.
And, having to break the news to my son that something that he looks forward to all year long, because everybody has a 1 sport, a 2 sport, a 3 sport, and so on. And hockey's is one, and he builds all year and trains all year for that hockey season.
Right.
And so it was heartbreaking giving him that news the other night. And we do have a rink outside. It just doesn't replace, playing with with your team and playing in front of high school. And high school is going to be different this year anyway, because you weren't going to have the fans that you typically have, and that all that stuff, and the camaraderie in the locker room, because everybody was split up in the locker room too. But it was still something. It was still better than nothing. And now we have nothing.
Right.
And so, but again, there's 2 sides of this, and I understand both sides of it. I'm not taking a side. As a father, I take a side that I would like my son to play sports and have those opportunities. But that's just straight passion. I understand the medical concern about what's going on here, and as you and I are both in quarantine, we should understand that.
Exactly.
So it's a hard. It was a hard decision to make. I know that the decision by the school board wasn't taken lightly.
Right.
And I guess we could just leave it at that.
Definitely, and just kind of look forward to like we had said earlier. Let's get these vaccines rolling. Let's hopefully have a spring season and give these kids an opportunity to get out there at least this spring and represent Kingswood.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that. All right. There are sports going on, though.
There are sports going on, which is good. They have to be professional sports, but
so let's start with the Patriots. Are you a believer at this point in the Patriots?
It's one of those things where I don't know if I've never not been a believer. I want to be a believer all the time, but there have been moments throughout the season where my belief has been challenged. We had talked that 6-6 was where a lot of the experts had put the Patriots, and they're still in a position to compete for a playoff spot. They have a big game tomorrow night against the Rams. So that's going to be a real big test. But so the answer to your question is yes, I'm still a believer. I feel like with what do we got? 5 games remaining.
4 games left.
4 games because we have played 12, so we got 4 games remaining. They're going to need to win 3 of the 4 to have a shot.
At least to have a shot. 3 out of 4 to have a shot. Yeah. They might need 4 out of 4.
Yeah. Kansas City has Miami this week, so hopefully Kansas City will knock off the Dolphins. So
we'll talk about that one a little bit later. I'm
a believer. How about you?
I'm a hopeful believer.
Yeah.
I am. And obviously, we've been together for a while here. I was hoping that Game 16 had meaning. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Playoffs would be bonus.
Yeah.
But if Game 16 had meaning, then you had a full season.
Right.
It's that funny season when games don't mean anything, which I don't want any part of.
Right.
And we've seen the Patriots play their last 3 games of the season without meaning anything, but for the other reason, because they clinched their spots.
Yeah.
So if Game 16 means something, then I'll be happy. Does the win? I mean, they won 45-0 against the Chargers. I want to say San Diego, but they're not San Diego anymore. So was it real? I mean, was it a dominant performance? Was it more about the Patriots or more about the Chargers?
Well, your message to me was really funny because it said you said are the Chargers that bad? Yeah. So and I think they are. But I mean the fact that the Patriots were able to beat an NFL team 45-0, that there's still professional football players on that field, so that's huge. So. Sorry, I've got fans. Michelle, sorry. Mike said hi.
Hi.
So we just let the dog out. Yeah.
I think that game was as much about the Chargers as the Patriots. Now, in the Patriots' defense, I think they're playing better.
Yeah.
But the Chargers were not ready to play.
Mm-mm.
They were wretched in every phase of the game. And the one thing I had said last week is that on paper, the Chargers were 3-7. They were 3-7 team, right? Going into that game,
they were 3-8. So now they're 3-9.
3-9.
Yeah.
That they have a dynamic young quarterback who is, by all accounts, seems to be really good. Right. They have studs on the receivers. They had their one of the starting running backs back.
Yeah.
They have studs on the defensive line. They're so poorly coached. They were so poorly coached in that game, and you saw the difference in coaching. The Patriots, again, won the game with 69 yards passing.
Yeah.
But this time they won it 45-0.
Right. It was dominant as far as points go. Speaking of the 69 yards passing, well, they had more than that, right? That was just for
Cam Newton had 69 yards passing.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts about that? Was Cam Newton? All right, so was this a situation where Cam Newton was benched, or was this a situation where the game's in control, we're going to let someone else play? And I just want to put a little something in there that Tom Brady would not have come off the field at 45-0. All right, they didn't, you know, they don't. Bill Belichick is not about putting in the guy to play the last 5 or 6 minutes. You know, they might put someone in to take the final knee, but that's it.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Can I sit on the fence on this one? I
Sure.
think it was a lot of different factors. First of all, Cam Newton's not Tom Brady, so he doesn't get to make that call like Tom Brady did. So that's one. I think it was as much about let's get Stidham in there with a set number of plays, real plays, not just hand off the ball.
Yeah.
And let's see what he can do. Because offensively, in their passing game, they're not even a high school football team. They're more like a middle school football team right now in terms of passing.
Right.
And so what do you get to lose? You're up at the time they were up 35-0, or I think it was 35.
Yeah. Had a touchdown pass. Yeah.
And they wanted to see every time that Stidham's gone in there, it's been in mop-up duty, but it's been very haphazard as far as the plays that they've given him. Yeah. You know, he hasn't gone in there with the number ones. Mm-hmm. Not that the Patriots have any number ones now, but they hasn't gone in there with the number ones.
Right.
And it's been just, you know, get us out of the game. And so what do we see? We see him throw the ball to the other team.
Yeah.
You know, that's basically what we saw. He went in there with basically the number ones. I think Sony Michel was the running back, though, so used to be number one. He got
a lot of touches, though, last week. So
he did. But you had – and he looked better. So, but you had Stidham throwing real balls, real plays, looking off the safety, and he looked really good.
Great. He throws a great ball.
You know, he really did. He looked good. He was decisive. Now, he had a little bit more practice time last week because Newton was on the mend with his abdomen injury. Right. So, you know, that was a real series or two that Stidham played, and he looked good. The pass to Gunnar Olszewski on the touchdown throw, Newton can't make that throw.
No.
Or he doesn't make that throw. And I think what goes with, you know, look at his eyes. When Stidham makes that throw, he looks off the safety. That's why Olszewski was so open. He looks off the safety, looks back, and fires a bullet to Olszewski.
Right.
No questions, didn't hold on to the ball, released the ball right on the numbers, and Gunnar goes in. You know, Gunnar's somebody else that Olszewski is starting to look a little Edelman-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, flipping back to Welker days, when Welker was here, Edelman was a young rookie, and he was kind of a clone of Welker, but he wasn't there like, oh, he's not going to be Welker, he's not going to be Welker. Well, it turns out 3 years after Welker, you know, after that rookie season, Edelman was better than Welker. I mean, he was better between punt returning, physicalness, absorbing hits, and so on. That same pattern is happening with Olszewski.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting back to Stidham, though, I think that what Stidham did was potentially play himself more time.
Mm-hmm.
And if Newton is struggling and the other team's putting 10 guys in the box like we're starting to see them do, they might need to bring in Stidham to break it up a little bit. You might see a little bit more Stidham. I think that was purposeful. I don't think it was mop-up duty. I think it was purposeful. Let's get this kid some time because we might need him down the stretch in these next 4 games. As soon as tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to make kind of a little prediction. I think Cam Newton, especially if he struggles, Cam Newton's going to be going out with an injury. So, and just save face a little for him, and then we'll see some Stidham. So
he was limited in practice yesterday. I think he's limited today too. Now, granted, it's such a short week that they're not doing a lot of heavy practicing. They're up. What a great break for the schedule for the Patriots. So they play the Chargers in the same stadium that they're playing the Rams 4 days apart.
Yep, and they got to stay right in LA.
And so the Rams are pissed. The Rams are really upset right now because the Rams played away last week. They're actually the ones that showed up late to their houses and stuff like that. It's more of a home game for the Patriots than the Rams. And Bill was rubbing it in today in his press conference. I don't know if you caught that, but he was talking about how the poor Rams had to travel and they didn't. And so
great.
There's some gamesmanship going on.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the game. I want to talk about the Rams in a second. Defense had to make it feel pretty good.
Yeah, defense looked good. Yeah.
And how about N'Keal Harry? I'm just kind of running down these lists here.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously had a much better game than he's had in the past. I think N'Keal Harry can be legit as long as he gets out of his own head. I mean, I think he's.
So they moved him to the inside a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's where he got the touchdown from. That's where he had most of his production. Was They moved him inside, not quite a tight end, but definitely closer to the line, where he did a little bit more blocking, simpler routes, and I think it worked. Now, right now, he's the number 3, and if you got the number 3, that's a 6'3" inside slot guy that weighs 250.
Good.
You got something going on. If they continue to get him the ball, but I think the talent is there for N'Keal Harry. There's no confidence whatsoever.
Right.
And maybe you start seeing a little bit of confidence.
I never speak ill of my Tommy, but I think Tommy was part of the problem with N'Keal Harry, because he didn't target N'Keal Harry. It was just I think Tom Brady kind of, I don't want to say ruined him, but definitely set him back quite a bit, where he's trying to figure things out. And I think Cam Newton certainly is trying to embrace him more.
Agreed. So the Pats have the Rams this week. I think that this is, out of their 4 games they have left, I would call this the second hardest game that they have left.
Okay.
With Buffalo being the hardest game, Miami's in there, and then obviously the Jets. But I think this is the second hardest game. I think it's a revenge game for the Rams because of the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and a lot of those same guys are there. Unlike the Patriots, where a lot of guys are different. The Pats are going to have their hands full, just like they do every week. I thought they were going to have their hands full with San Diego. I don't think San Diego felt the same way, but not San Diego. See, I did it. The Chargers. Yeah. Yes, the Chargers. But this is a different team. The Rams are a different team. They're definitely more up on the echelon. They think they're still in the playoff mix in the West. I didn't even get a chance to check.
So I have the standings right here. So they are 8-4. They're actually ahead of the Seahawks, who are 8-4.
Okay, so and the Pats are 6-6. So the Pats are obviously an underdog in this game.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be interesting how they put this together. So I did not put this in our picks because the show is going to air after the game because they're playing on Thursday night. So there's a lot of pressure right now. This is a bonus pick for you, and it's happening right now, Charlie.
Yeah.
Because when everybody watches this show, they're going to know if you know what you're talking about or if you don't know what you're talking about.
That's true. Yeah. I think they already know that. So as Chip would say, you guys don't know what you guys are talking about, anything about football. So. All right. So what do you want me to do? You want to make a pick?
I want you to pick this game. It's a bonus pick.
Oh, a bonus pick. Okay. So do you want me to pick it on?
I want you to pick the winner and the score.
I'm going to pick the winner and the score.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to take. Oh, this is all based on feelings. You know this. I'm gonna take New England to win, and they're going to win 27-24.
I think we're on the same page. I'm going to say New England 21-17.
Okay. Here we go. So we'll see. And maybe the Patriots will just win 45-0 again. That'd be great.
I don't know. I hope so, because it's such an enjoyable. We haven't had a game like this in a few years.
No.
Remember, I mean, when the Pats back in 07 and those years 07 to like 2014,
right?
Well, there was nothing for them to win 30 to nothing, by 30 points.
Yeah, yeah. The game was over by the half, which was always. It was nice.
It was really enjoyable. All right. Let's talk some Celtics real quick. Season starts in 2 weeks.
Yeah, can you believe December 22nd is the NBA tip-off?
Yep, and I don't want to get into too many details because we're running out of time right now, but expectations for the Celtics?
They're good. I mean, I think they're if you look at the odds, they're the number 5 team in the NBA. I think they're gonna make the finals this year.
They're the number 2 team in the East, though, right?
Oh yeah, in the East. I was looking at when I was talking about who they were really Vegas odds is what they are. So
does that surprise you? Does it surprise you that they're the number 2 team in the East when you think about what Philadelphia has done, what Milwaukee? Well, Milwaukee's the one. What Toronto did some stuff.
No, I did.
Brooklyn.
No, it doesn't surprise me because the Celtics, as much as we complained about Danny Ainge and the Celtics, they ended up kind of last minute pulling it together. They got their big man. They got veteran experience. Hayward, who I've got no problem with, is gone, but he was ineffective for the Celtics. I think I think they did what they needed to do, and I'm pumped. I think we're going to be talking about NBA Finals. You're going to see the Celtics.
Okay. Bruins, I guess, are starting January 22nd.
Yeah, that's cool.
What was the date that I have? 56-game season. I mean, we have a lot more time to talk about the Bruins.
Yeah. I can't wait. I mean, that's going to be, especially since we don't have local sports.
No.
We're going to get all in on the Bruins.
Well, did you see that they put in a request for several outdoor games at Fenway Park?
Cool.
Several.
Yeah,
that
literally.
They just want to play their home games.
Yeah.
Because if they have home games outside, then they can have fans. Because right now there's not going to be any fans inside. I think it's pretty cool. I think that's one of the bonuses, one of the few bonuses of COVID is that, getting to see some outdoor stuff.
We were always talking about that when they have the Winter Classics. We always said, why don't they do more games like that? So
yeah, agreed. So New England Revolution, I see you put in there.
Put it up there, just an update. They ended up losing in the semifinals, which is disappointing because they were the closest we had, at least right now, to winning a championship. And they had a great season and a great run. And we just kind of talk about them because people forget about, if you listen to our radio show, we were talking about why people in the United States don't like soccer. But, this team is the same team that's owned, Robert Kraft owns the Patriots and the New England Revolution. And so I just wanted to give them a little bit of love.
I tuned in a little bit. It was 1-0. Is that what the final was?
Yes. And there was a good opportunity in the second half. And
so it was a blowout?
The Revolution came up just short. Haha, I'm not biting on your 1-0 blowout.
I like soccer. They got to figure out a way to get some more scoring and more action in soccer.
Yeah.
For the television audience. And I think we mentioned this last week. Playing soccer and watching soccer are two different things.
Totally. Yeah.
So
yeah. And you called me out just so that our fans know. You called me out and said, "What are you watching the Revolution or are you watching the Patriots?" And I ended up with some of the Revolution, but I started with the Patriots.
No, good. All right, a quick game. We're gonna do a little Newton or Stidham.
I'm gonna stay with Newton.
I'm staying with Newton because he seems to be beloved by the teammates.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, disrupt that. Garoppolo or Alex Smith? Jimmy Garoppolo or Alex Smith next year?
That's part about these two is they were both 49ers, or what Garoppolo still is.
Yeah.
I love Alex Smith, but I'm still a Jimmy G fan. Alex a little bit older.
Okay. I find the Alex Smith story interesting. Obviously the math, he beat Pittsburgh the other night, coming back from a 3-year injury hiatus where his knee was just put through a blender, basically. His whole leg was put through a blender. 17 surgeries, almost lost his leg. It's a great story. But his playing story, he was the number 1 pick. I believe he was the number 1 pick, a while ago. And when he was in San Francisco and Jim Harbaugh was the coach, he was winning. He was winning significantly. Like they were 6-2 or something like that. And Harbaugh put in Colin Kaepernick to finish the season. And it ended up being a good decision because they ended up going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that worked out. Yeah.
So then he signs with Kansas City. And he leads Kansas City to the playoffs. His full year that he was there, they lost in, I want to say, a divisional final game. I don't think it was the AFC Championship. I think they lost in the divisional final. And then they ship him out the very next year because they have what's his name? Oh my God, I forgot. Kansas City quarterback.
Patrick Mahomes.
Thank you, Patrick Mahomes. I just drew a blank there for a second. I mean, he just seems to be. These guys keep following him that are playing really well or studs. Patrick Mahomes right now is on track to be the best quarterback that ever played. That's what he's on track for. Alex Smith's overall record is somewhere in the 90s wins and 60 losses. He has a winning percentage well into the 600s and 700s. So, I mean, the guy's a winner.
He's 3-time Pro Bowler. I know that. And the only thing is, he's in football age, and maybe I shouldn't say this. He's 36, which I know that Tom Brady is 100 years old, but getting up there in years. But yeah, he is. Alex Smith is a winner. He was a winner in college. He played for Utah. So, yeah.
All right, last one. Jason Tatum or Giannis? I know I'm saying his last name. If you could only have one, who are you having?
Is Jason Tatum or the Greek Freak?
Yes.
I'm taking Jason Tatum. You know why? Jason Tatum, not not because he's a Celtic, but Jason Tatum. I don't think there's any attitude where Giannis, there tends to be an attitude, and he's starting to fall into that LeBron category for me, where Tatum is just pure happiness. He just seems like
I don't know. Tatum gets fouled. If he gets touched, he wants to call. So that's hard to watch.
That's the flopping version of the NBA. So
yeah, that's true. All right, we'll save that one for a little bit more because I want to talk more about Giannis. All right, we're gonna do some power rankings. We're gonna hit these really quick. I see you updated things.
Well, yes, but I updated.
Who's the number one team? Who's the number one team in the NFL right now?
Number 10 in the NFL are the Kansas City Chiefs.
Agreed. I agree with that. I second that one. Who's the number 2 team in the NFL?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
First of all, I'm dropping the Steelers right out of they were my number 1 last week.
I know they were. You dropped them because they struggled today.
I would drop them out of the top 5.
Why?
That's where I'm at. Why? First of all, Washington's not very good. And second of all, if you look at their schedule on who they've beaten this year, it is a last place schedule. So I'm going to say number 2 is going to be the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, but you always say, Mike, just so you know, you always say that, for a team to go undefeated, it's challenging. So everybody's going to have a bad game, and the Steelers did have a bad game. But I'm going to go with we're at number 3, correct?
Yeah, we're at number 3.
Number 3. I am going to go number 3. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet, so I'm going to say the Green Bay Packers.
New York Jets.
Green Bay Packers.
Okay, right. Not ready yet either.
Let's do our picks. Yeah. So Kansas City at Miami.
I'm taking KC all the way.
Yeah, I'm taking KC too. Minnesota at Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. They're going to bounce back.
I'm going to say Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to run all over Tampa Bay.
Okay.
I think that's probably more heart than anything else. All right. Indy at Vegas.
I'm going to go with the Colts.
Yep, I think that's the Vegas is due to trip up a little bit. Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
I want Pittsburgh to win, which is really I got to go wash my mouth out with soap. But I think Pittsburgh's going to lose to Buffalo, so I'm going to take Buffalo.
So you don't think Pittsburgh's going to have that bounce back game?
Well, Pittsburgh doesn't have to bounce back. They're undefeated. This is the game that's going to make it so that they have a lot.
Pittsburgh just lost 2 days ago. They're not undefeated.
Oh, true. I'm sorry. I'm going to go with no. I'm not changing my mind. You're right about that. But no, it's going to be Buffalo. Buffalo is for real, and you're going to see it this week.
Okay, I'm going to say Buffalo on that one too. I don't think they're for real, but I think Pittsburgh is much worse than that. Buffalo is actually the best team that they've played all year. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Arizona at the New York Giants. I don't know if we've seen the New York Giants on this list because the New York Giants is the first place team in the.
Yeah, they had that, and they had the win. So the NFC. Yeah, the NFC. They're the first place team. Giants are 5-7.
Yep,
5-7. But they've won 4 in a row, Mike.
Yeah. So who you got?
So I'm gonna go with the. Oh man, I don't even like the Giants. This is tough. I'm going to go with Arizona.
I'm going with the New York Giants. I think that the head coach for the Giants, former Patriots guy, he's representing the Belichick tree pretty good at this point. They're playing pretty good football, and they're winning with different quarterbacks too because Daniel Jones didn't play last week, and they beat Seattle. It was Colt McCoy. And then I see you put in the Thursday Night Football.
I did just have there. I figured talk about it, but you already called me out on it. So
yeah, so we went on the score on that one. All right.
You got what did you say? I said 27-24. You said
21-17.
All right, New England. Okay.
We got to thank our sponsors: Downtown Grill and Cafe,
Kelly's Market,
and Morrissey's Porch and Pub. Thank you very much. We are transitioning to the radio at some point where we're going to be doing this, hopefully live from the radio station. We're still working out the details on that. But I believe that either way, Mike and the Hoss will be on WCTV next week, whether it be from the radio station or from Google Meet, because I know that the Hoss is still going to be quarantined next week.
I certainly will be quarantined next week. So I also want to thank our producer, Jonathan Bean, and of course, Timothy Goodwin at Wolfeboro Community TV. One of these, I keep saying this all the time, Mike, but at some point I would love to do an interview with Timothy Goodwin, because he is the man behind this television station that does amazing things. So
maybe he'd be willing to come on the radio show to promote WCTV.
That'd be great.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, wear your mask, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks.